Hello friend, it's Pat Sloan here with my daily video. We have got a fun, let's see what the top quilt is, if there's like a theme for this. The topic for today is onesies, and by that I mean a quilt that you made one of and you're like, okay, I don't need to do those again. Not in a bad way, you know, some quilts are more complex, some may be more challenging. So I will start off. I will tell you my onesies. At first, I would say it was a double wedding ring because I actually made two small double wedding rings. I never made a full-size one, but at the time that I made the two, they were four rings. So it's, you know, maybe 9 rings. Yeah, 9 rings and 4 rings, so very small. But I actually fell in love with them. But then I thought, oh, one is enough, you know, really two small ones. They were enough. But in the back of my mind, I pretty much know I want to make another double wedding ring at some point. The other one is a New York Beauty. And I definitely know I do not need to make another New York Beauty. I made one, I love it, and maybe someday I'll find it, I'll bring it down and show it on the video. That's when I start documenting all my quilts upstairs. So those are my two. So tell me if you have one and done. That might be it. I'd like to hear. Okay, spools. I forgot yesterday, didn't I? So today is the 19th, which means I have, plus tomorrow there's no video. So I did a whole row. Ta-da! I did a row of spools so that on Monday I start the, what is this? This is the 4th row. So yeah, so Monday I start the 5th row of spools. So there's 5 in each row for 30 for the month. So I'm pretty excited about this. I love this ribbon. Like, we all need an award for getting through 2020. We'll probably need an award for getting through 2021 as well, but so at least most of 2021. But let's just start with 2020. So this is, I gave myself an award on this one. This fabric is super old. It was done by Lizzie House. Gosh, maybe only hers, like a couple of fabric lines in, like many years ago, maybe 10 or something. And there we go. Okay, so I can put that onto the other ones. I'm being very diligent. I have them put together the other rows, so this will go on with the other rows. Now I do have to show you before I do things to ponder. That's the next thing I'm going to talk about. But I found this pumpkin. You know, it's starting to feel like fall, so I thought I need a little pumpkin pin. Isn't that cute? My friend Joanna, it's just like her drawings. It's so darling. So I recommend we all have a pumpkin and wear a pumpkin pin. I should put pumpkin with Norm. I have Norm in here still. Well, it's not exactly Norm, but there's the, I have him too. I still haven't figured out exactly where to put these. So I just keep showing them to you. Oh. Okay, on the wall. For those of you who are not following along and may have not realized what is up there, that's the layer cake sew-along. And mine is in fall colors. There's a little bit of Halloween fabric in there, but mostly it's just more fall colors. And the Perfect 10 quilts are made with layer cakes, and layer cakes are 10-inch, you know, stacks of pre-cuts of 10-inch squares. So all the quilts in here are named after a type of cake, and this one is called the birthday cake. And I'm starting to see rows of this done in the group, in our group Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. So darling. Somebody had like a blue and white one. They're just so cute. So this is the birthday cake. Now they have other things like the coconut quilt, cookie dough quilt, cookies and cream, cotton candy. So they're all fun, like the French vanilla. I did the French vanilla quilt already. I did it for one of the other things. I think I did that one, the French vanilla. That's really nice because it shows off the fabric. But somebody asked me, they said, well, it doesn't look like a cake. Well, no. None of these names, nothing's going to look like a rocky road. Nothing's going to look like peaches and cream. These are just names of the quilts to be fun, to go with the theme of the book of layer cakes. So it's not pictorial in any way, much like my themes. My themes are not pictorial. You know, I don't do, sometimes I do, but mostly not. Mostly they're just a way to name the fun block so that, you know, it's just boring to use the same old names. turn dash star, you know, you gotta have a fun name. Okay, things to ponder. This got me going because I thought, oh, there's just a couple of different fun things that float along through the internet, and I thought this would be great to share. Phyllis in our group, she made a super interesting observation for herself, and I think it was wonderful that she shared it with everybody, and I want to be sure all of you have this to ponder as well. She said that she often, you know, when a quilt comes across in the group and she sees it, she said, oh, she really likes it, but there's so many other people already said, oh, it's so pretty or it's beautiful, and she didn't really always feel like she could add to that, so she didn't make a comment. And then what happened was she posted a quilt, and she got an enormous amount of lovely comments, a lot of them the same, very pretty, gorgeous, but she said what that did for her was make her realize how wonderful it was to see all these comments, even if some were the same words. It was people taking the time, taking their precious time to share and comment on her quilt, and it just transformed the way she felt about leaving comments. So I really encourage you, when you see somebody's quilt that you really like, you know, you can just say something easy. You can just leave a little heart emoji or a heart, you know, graphic that pops up automatically for you to just click. Something other than like. You know, likes are wonderful, but it is really nice to see that somebody took a few seconds to leave a note on your quilt. A lot of people even commented, you know, on her sharing about this, that you know, they don't have people at home who really get the quilting. So, you know, when they come into our group, this is their only community that really understands why we quilt. So just think about that. I try to, you know, encourage everybody to be, this is your community. It's not just my group, it's your community. And it's nice to, you make friends. You might see a name that's often you like the style of the quilt that they do, then, you know, engage them in a little conversation and you can become friends. It is such an amazing thing that can happen with a group like this. Okay, changing things to ponder. My good friend Karen, who works at my publisher, we were just chatting back and forth, and you know, I was saying that patience isn't one of my strong points. I'm not patient. You know, I even told the occupational therapist that I would now agree that maybe I was getting a little bit better because, you know, it wasn't going fast enough. And she's like, it's doing fine. So this is what Karen said. She's reading a book called A Gentleman in Moscow. And this was a quote, you know, from the book, and it said, "If it were easy to be patient, patience wouldn't be considered a virtue." So think about that. If it was easy to be patient, patience would hardly be considered a virtue. So there's variations of that out there on the internet if you look, but I'll link you to the book in case you want to read A Gentleman in Moscow. Okay, and the last one is of things to ponder, is that Kay told me that I should call this whole risk thing the riskapades, you know, the riskapades, something like that. So I thought, yes, this should be my riskapades whenever I do an update on the risks. So yeah, it's a lot of work for those of you who, you know, like the fingers here they're pretty good this time of day, but in the morning they're more like that, you know, they don't really, they're like a claw. So that's the part, that and the wrist rotations, you know, like the back and the forth, all of that has to be, it's still working. Okay, but now we're going to talk about the Quilt Drive for the fire victims. This is being run by Heather Hendrickson. Did I get her last name right? I don't know if that, yeah, Hendrickson, yeah, Heather Hendrickson, out in Oregon. She happens to be friends with Bonnie Sullivan, a designer who actually was one of the people who lost her home and her studio, all of her things in the fire. And Heather has this whole team of people who are collecting now they want to collect up to 800 quilts, because that's how many people they now have in their community, the ring of the community that they are looking to support by giving the people a quilt, a physical quilt to have from all of us. Heather told me that after that number is reached, or close to it, they will close down their quilt drive and then let another community who's collecting, people shift over to that. So I am going to be sending 4 tops from my pile to them. Let me just show you. I'm not going to open I'm not going to open all of them, but I'll open this one, and I'll tell you what the other ones are. Because if you've been following along, you saw them. They're recent ones. So this is one that's much older. It was one that I used for teaching when I was teaching for a while. This particular quilt from one of my older books called Medallion Magic, and I will link you up to the book. You can get it a digital copy. So here is my quilt from Medallion Magic. I made about 6 or 7 of these tops. This one is one of my older fabric lines, and I really thought it was very cheerful and fun. So it's basically this huge big checkerboard and a bunch of different fabrics, showcasing these wider fabrics. It's actually on the cover of the book, done in pinks and white pink roses on white with different varying sizes of roses. So it's a really, really neat quilt. The physical book, I'll link you to. You can still get some used copies on Amazon, but you can actually get a digital copy and have it right away. There's so many great quilts in that book. It's been out of print for a while. So then I am sending along the Elvira quilt that we did when the virus first hit, and Gudrun ran this as a sew along. So here was my Elvira quilt. So it's nice and big. This is a huge quilt. So I will send this one out. I'm not folding it up right now because that's the hard part for me. Put it over there. And then we also did with Gudrun, we did the Hope quilt. Let me just show you a portion of that because it's a little hard for me to hold the whole things. So this was the Hope quilt, and there were some different variations of how you laid this out. I have got a sort of an off-center variation, and I used some really fun Heather Ross fabric that I love. Look at the bears, the honey bears. There's so much cute stuff in here. So I have that one. And then if you have, I probably should do a post in my Facebook group. Maybe eventually I'll do a post also at my blog. But this quilt, I'll just roll you down here to it. This one here was using the, okay, this is the backing in the middle. There we go. Oh, it's all heavy. This is using one of the other patterns from the Perfect 10 book. Okay, so here it is, and this used Betty's Luncheonette fabric. Remember, I was obsessed with Betty's Luncheonette fabric. I still absolutely love it. Love the colors, and I had all of this orange, and I was doing this back last year, 2019. Towards the end of the year, I got this one finished up. So the backing is actually, I have all that set and everything. So all of this will go out to Oregon, and they will quilt them up. Heather has a team of, I don't know, 7, 10 different long armors who will be able to put these together. But their drive will end as soon as they get close to 800. As of today, when I filmed this, which is Friday, they've reached like half of the number, so I mean, close to 400. So that's like in 7 days they put out the quilt drive. So they will probably, if you have a top that you're going to send, get it in the mail. Of course, anything that goes over the number, they're going to give to the community next to them, so they will not go to waste. But they want to be sure they don't, it's not a long-term project. This is a specific project for their community. Okay, also had my hair cut again. This is only the third time this year it's only the second time since the COVID that I've had my hair cut. The first time it was really bad because I had it cut right after my surgery, and now this is the second time since surgery. So my buddy Kim, she came out and cut my hair in the garage. So Oh, so thankful she does that. Okay, friends, have a fabulous day. Links below for everything, including where to send a quilt, a finished quilt or a quilt top for the Oregon fire victims. I love you. Mwah. See you online.